Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope this is going right. This is our first live stream via Zoom, our first Zoominar for Goodspeed, and we're so thrilled to be here with all of you. Hello. Thank you for being here. I'm Donna Lynn Hilton. I am the producer for Goodspeed, and I'm coming to you from my home in East Haddam. Happy to have the opportunity to speak to all of you who decided you could join us tonight, and really heartbroken that we can't be together at this time, but this is going to pass. First of all, I hope that you and all of yours are well and managing this really difficult time safely and respecting the order to stay at home. It's really, really important that we do this, that we make this sacrifice and give all the people on the front lines a fighting chance to help us get through this as quickly as possible and get back to our lives and back to sharing the great musical theater that we get to share together. So thank you for doing everything you can do, because I know all of you and I know that you are doing that. The world's such a state right now. There's so much stress. There's so much fear. I'm feeling it. I know you're feeling it. And I'm really happy actually to have this outlet to get together and to take a few minutes to come together and to share the thing that all of us love so much, which is Goodspeed and new musicals. So thank you for being with us. I hope that this time will lift our hearts just a little bit. I think it's already lifting mine. I will share with you that if you are on Facebook and you miss being at the Goodspeed, find me, Donna Lynn Hilton, on Facebook, friend me. I will friend you back, and you will be able to see the beautiful photographs of the beautiful opera house that I have been sharing every day for close to 2 weeks now. I started it with photographs that I had and that our staff photographer, Diane Soboleski, had captured. And then it started this groundswell, and people who have worked at the Goodspeed for many, many years are sending me photographs. I have more photographs than I will ever be able to use, but it's lifting my heart every day to be able to send that message and share that beautiful building anew with everybody. So check it out, Donna Lynn Hilton on Facebook. Many of you have reached out to us just to check on us, to make sure that everybody at Goodspeed is okay. So let me assure you that our immediate staff, everybody is well at this time. We've been out of the office for almost 4 weeks now. And like all of you, that's really hard, but we have a great team at Goodspeed, and this whole experience has really reinforced for me what a great group of people we have in that building and outside of that building, and all of you. We're going to be okay. These are dire times for our industry. I will not sugarcoat it. It's a mess. Everybody I know is out of work. All the actors, the writers, the directors, the choreographers are doing their best to keep the beautiful spirits that are alive in them going, but it's a bad time. So thank you to all of you who have reached out. Many people have already contacted us to donate tickets back for the productions that we've had to cancel, and that means so much to us. We're gonna be back, but we want to be able to do everything we can for our staff during this time. We have a lot of furloughs. We've laid some staff off. And we're just doing everything we can to keep people going in the meantime. So thank you to those of you who have already been really generous in spirit and, quite frankly, with donations with us. We really appreciate it. So let's get to why we're all here. One of the great parts of my job is that I have to check in with writers. Part of my job is establishing relationships with writers, directors, choreographers, designers, and actors, and creating relationships that result in the beautiful work that you get to enjoy on our stages. And so we thought it might be fun to bring you into that process. I have constantly a list of people I need to check in with or have coffee with or have lunch with, or I need to listen to their show and get back to them with some thoughts, and I never get to all of it. So quite frankly, this horrible experience has given me the opportunity to do a little bit more of that than I might usually do. So let's get to the fun part. We have with us, piece of housekeeping. We have this, if you're new to Zoom, you'll notice that at the bottom, there's a Q&A button. If you have any questions or comments you want to share or just some chat, yeah, you can feel free to drop them in there. I should have just lit up on your screens, bright orange. If you click that chat button, you can just put your questions in there and we'll try to get to them and answer them. And a special thank you to Michael Fling, who's behind the scenes, pulling the levers and making all of this happen. All right, so let's go ahead and bring Scott Gilmour and Claire McKenzie into the conversation. Please, Michael, thank you. Scott and Claire are collectively known as Noisemaker, and they are the writers of the beautiful show, Hi, My Name is Ben, that we saw at the Terrace last summer. And I think they'll be here. There they are. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, we're doing good, thanks. How are you?
I'm okay. Getting through it. Doing what we got to do, right? Where are you?
We are both in Glasgow and different parts of Glasgow, same city, but at the moment that doesn't make too much of a difference. We're still communicating the same way.
No, it does not. And how's the weather?
Oh, it's a balmy springtime in Glasgow at the moment. So to be honest, though, it does help with lockdown when it's just constantly dreary and raining outside. You know, like there's not the too going to get soaked every day, I suppose. So, but yeah, we're holding in there. It's lovely to see you. And
it's good to see you.
I also like the boldness of the first Zoom conversation, getting two people that sound like us to try and speak to everyone. Is like confidence.
Well, you were next on my call list. And so I said, what the heck? Let's just see how it goes. I will assure people that a little bit later, we're going to get to a piece of music from a new show that Scott and Claire are working on. And we did ask for a lyric sheet. Because we thought maybe with the Scottish accents, we might need a little help.
It is very Scottish.
A wee bit of help. Okay. What are you got? How are you getting through this, guys? Are you working or what's going on in terms of work for you? And cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
It is 5 o'clock.
Well, I mean, it's 10 o'clock here, so you can imagine the state you're finding us in. Yeah, we're fine. We're kind of, you know, it's a sort of, it's an odd situation in that I don't think anyone has any context for how to prepare for something like this.
Yeah.
You know, just regardless of what your job is or whatever you do, it's an odd shift and change. But particularly for Claire and I, it's creatively it's different. It's an odd time to try and continue to be creative and to try and keep working and keep actually wanting to sit down and make stuff when, you know, a headline comes up and, you know, that completely brings you back out into the fact that the world's a little bit on fire at the moment. But we are currently in the middle of a few newer projects. Actually, the first half of this year has been spent on starting a few new things from scratch. So it's actually been a lot of writing new material and like structure and stuff and all the kind of all the sort of complicated things at the beginning of the process, which has been nice. It's been kind of weird because it's the first time we've not done that in the same room together. Claire's loving it.
That's not unusual for writers. You know, a lot of writers don't have great access to one another, but that's not the case for you guys.
Yeah, we've always written quite closely together, and we would spend kind of like long days just batting ideas backward and forward and finding structures. And I think it's been quite hard in that respect. So we're on Zoom a lot. We've got used to this now, and we're just kind of there, weirdly present in each other's rooms, but on a computer screen, which is it still gets the job done. It just takes a bit of getting used to. We're used to working at home, obviously, because we're lucky. I feel really fortunate that we're writers at the moment, actually, and I think it is something that you can kind of dive into and temporarily escape kind of what's going on. And like I say, we're really used to writing at home, but we're not used to not being together. So, and also the days, as everyone's probably finding, the days are just sometimes they feel really long, and sometimes they feel really short, and you're not kind of stimulated in the same way. You know, you haven't got anything to break up that monotony other than your own schedule. So I'm sure everyone's finding that in different ways. But I think with writing, sometimes you feel like you're going in slow motion, you're getting nowhere. It doesn't feel like a normal writing day. but you adapt, and we're still trying to keep communicating every day and keep writing, really, which is lovely to kind of have something to kind of keep us going.
Cool. So before we get to some detail on what you're working on right now, because I want to catch up on all of that, let's give our audience a little bit of an update on Hi, My Name is Ben, which was the spring show at the Terrace last year. I think most of these people are Terrace subscribers and saw the show, so I know they're probably anxious to know what happened since then.
Yeah, of course. First of all, thanks for coming along. Anyone who did, it was getting to make that piece with Goodspeed, and it's just been probably the most kind of fulfilling and like really beautiful process I think we've been part of. The story, we started it at the Writers' Colony 2 years previous. We just had a lot of blank paper and a bit of an idea, and that grew and evolved through different phases of development and eventually became that production at the Terrace. Since then, the show actually quite soon after the run in Goodspeed was selected for the NAMT Festival in New York, which is like they do a festival of new musicals every year.
The National Alliance for Musical Theater, which is many of these people have had the chance through the festival to meet some of the NAMT staff and hear about them, but they're a really wonderful organization that provides really exceptional support for writers like Scott and Claire.
And it was that festival showcases 8 new works that are either in development or have just finished their first production or are at a stage that they're now looking for future partnerships and the kind of next step of where the show can go next. So that was in the fall of last year. I'm now saying fall, which is very different from me. I would normally say autumn. I'm acclimatizing.
You're becoming an American.
You're a proper American.
I'm not very proper.
Scottish. Yeah, so the show was on at NAMT and it went very well, and we had a lot of lovely responses from different theatres and producers and stuff that were interested in the work and the story. Since then, we had actually had a bunch of rewrites and changes we wanted to make, actually off the back of the Terrace production and then off the back of NAMT. So we have just partnered with a commercial producer for the show, and we are now we've come back to it to do a bunch of rewrites and changes that we wanted to make off the back of the run, and then kind of once those are in place, we'll probably do another pass, another reading of it, and then look to its next kind of fuller production of it. So it's quite an exciting time for it. We've got some new members to the team, which is cool, but also trying to keep the parts that were good and change the parts that needed fixing.
That's great, and that's sort of the best possible scenario from Goodspeed's perspective, for us to be able to do that early work with people we love, like you guys, and to then be able to help it find a showcase that puts it in front of all the industry people who can help move it along. That's really, really thrilling for all of us. So can you give us a little tidbit of what sort of changes might be coming with the show?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've kind of some of the questions that were kind of in place for the audience at the end of the show being like, exactly what happened to Ben that made his voice disappear, and exactly what made it come back. I think we were slightly abstract in the approach to it to begin with. We've become a bit clearer about that now. We've kind of lost some material that kind of wasn't that was kind of taking up space, and made a bit more space for some more clarity. There's a few new songs that we're kind of looking at, and we're also just playing a little bit with structure and stuff in terms of what you hear when. So actually young Ben's story is connected a little more closely to old Ben's, and actually the point where the voice disappears and when it comes back are getting closer together. Have I said everything right, Claire?
Yeah, I was going to say, and also what's been interesting looking at Ben again in the last week or two, with the world changing in this way, we also noticed that we're now an audience who goes to see the story of Ben is going to be able to relate in a way that we couldn't imagine to that that isolation within the room, and also to writing notes and learning to communicate in a different way. So we were really interested in kind of teasing that element out of the story that's already there, and kind of show, I think we want to show old Ben really having to learn this new form of communication a little bit more. So he has a kind of a bigger arc for both young Ben, but particularly old Ben, and how he has to learn to make friends and communicate in a brand new way to him.
Cool. All right, great. That sounds great. I can't wait to read the next draft if you will share it with us. I know Annika and Michael and I will be thrilled to hear where it's going next. So we've had the chance to see one another a couple of times since last spring at the NAMT Festival, of course. But then right before that, I was able to visit you guys in Miami for a really fun visit. Tell us about that project a little bit.
Yeah, so we had an interesting trip to Florida. Florida's different. It's really different. We, of course, a bunch of pasty Scottish people going out there. Like the first battle was like learning what sun cream I was supposed to put on. But once we kind of overcame that, we kind of got down to work. Basically, we were out doing an adaptation of Peter Greenaway's sort of cult movie from the 80s called The Cook, the Thief, His Wife and Her Lover. It's a bit of a wild movie, sort of quite dark comedy, came out of the kind of Thatcher era in Britain, comment on a lot of things that were happening at that time, but it's really high style, really quite opulent. And we were part of a team that developed a immersive theatrical version of that piece. So the film itself is actually set in a kind of high-end French restaurant, and with lots of stuff happens within it. There's like murder and betrayal and all the things that make a good dinner. And part of the process for making the show was actually as not just adapting a screenplay for the stage, but the piece itself took place in a restaurant, so the audience came along as a guest to have dinner, and then the show kind of happened around them. So part of our creative team was collaborating with a chef as well. So we had a chef called Michelle Bernstein who kind of worked with us to make a menu that surrounded the script, and with each course a different part of the story was kind of told, and it sort of happened all around you. So yeah, just really bog standard musical theatre,
Claire, tell us, what was the music for this piece? It wasn't original, right?
It wasn't original. Yeah, they were inspired, the producers were inspired by Moulin Rouge and using kind of existing songs but reimagining them. So the film was released in 1989. So obviously we went towards the 80s, but I made them kind of a classical mix of a modern kind of and classical fusion of styles. So it was quite a big, bold, colourful production while you're trying to eat your duck.
Well, I had the pleasure of being invited down to consult, give a little advice, or in the early days. So I went to the 2 first previews, right, or with audience, I think, and it was fun. We had a really good time, and Jay and I, my husband and I, said a few months later, we went, I want to go see it again. I wonder how it developed, because the show does take such life after it's had a little bit of time on its feet. So it was really fun. And then you spent the rest of the year working on Willy. How'd I do?
Say
it right?
You said it right. It was in Scottish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we, after we came home from Miami, we ended up working with Dundee Rep Theatre, who actually were a partner for the development of Hi, My Name is Ben as well, on adapting a kind of very famous old Scottish comic book called Willy, which is basically just Our William. That is what that is saying, but Willy is how you say it in Scottish. The best way I can describe, Claire, probably the best way is he's kind of like Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown, yeah.
Sort of like Charlie Brown, but really Scottish with some kilts, and he has a bucket. He sits on a little bucket. So it's been it was sort of post-wartime comic, and it has been in the Sunday papers in Scotland since. So he's like 80 odd years old, and this was the first sort of stage adaptation of it. So we worked with Dundee Rep and also a touring company in the UK called Celador Worldwide, and to produce the first sort of stage adaptation of this. And it premiered in Dundee over Christmas time and opened over there, and then it went on a tour around Scotland, and it closed at the beginning of March. So yeah, it was slightly different from like Miami kind of like full murder and duck experience, then going straight back to doing a Christmas Scottish comic book. But the variety is like the best part of what we do. We can really do love that.
It's the life of a writer. Whatever you'll write, whatever someone will pay you to write. So the thing that I'm really excited about now that I got to see a little bit of at a commissioning workshop in New York back in the fall is Cayley. Am I saying it correctly? Because
Yeah.
it's not spelled like that.
It's
So
not.
that's the reason we have to stay in touch with one another, because I really am interested in that piece, and I want to hear how it's coming, and then we're going to share a demo with our guest tonight. So
Yeah.
how's it going?
Yeah, it's good. It's going well. Basically, we kind of have joined part of the commissioning program. Where on sort of asked us to come up with an original idea that felt connected to us and to our heritage and kind of what we do. And a big part of that of being Scottish is a thing called Cayley. So Cayley, for those that don't know it, is, as we've said, not spelt like Cayley at all. It's Gaelic, and is basically it's a social gathering that happens in Scotland, kind of not a million miles away from like barn dancing, I suppose.
I think my equivalent would be a hootenanny.
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody playing an instrument, dancing, singing, everybody contributing.
So these have happened in Scotland for like thousands of years, and they've been passed down through kind of through generations. And traditionally, a Cayley would be a collection of stories and songs and dances that would happen at a time of celebration. So whether that's like a wedding in Scotland, or a New Year, or like a Tuesday night when people want to get together, an excuse to come together and dance and drink and that kind of thing. But specifically what makes it a Cayley though are the dances. So the dances are handed down, and they are steps that you're taught as a kid in Scotland. You're taught them at school. And there are a set of probably about 10 dances that are very well known that you kind of learn the steps to, and that are done at every Cayley. So it's kind of that makes it specifically a Cayley.
And obviously you'd be wearing tartan and drink whiskey and maybe eat some haggis as well. All of the Scottish things in one night.
You fed me haggis for the last time, for the record.
We'll see. So we basically we took this idea of Cayley and that it's a community of people, a social gathering of people that come together to sort of connect over an evening through dance and song and different stories being told, and sort of used it as the framework to maybe create a new piece of theatre. I think maybe it slightly came from the fact we were already working in an immersive way with the production in Miami, only this has got less like duck in it. We spoke a little bit about the idea of every Cayley dance as well, as it's a cyclical thing. So it sort of will, there are a set of steps that will cover, whether that's 16 or 24 bars of music, and then it will just play and repeat, and you pass partners throughout the evening. The kind of the nature of that sort of cycle being handed down through different generations, and the idea of community coming together in that way started to spark a couple of little stories in our heads. So the actual piece itself is based on, so it is an event. We wanted to make a piece that was kind of a narrative and a theatrical experience, but also an event that the audience could come along and experience too. So the idea is you kind of rock up for a Cayley, and there is like a band and a bar, and you are taught the dances throughout the evening. But as you're dancing, a story starts to emerge from that. You might be dancing with an actor who's part of that story, and through the evening, a story kind of emerges. But yeah, that's probably all we should say about it at the minute, Claire.
All right, that's good. That's good. And the score is what the layperson would recognize as kind of traditionally Scottish music, I assume, right, Claire?
Yeah, I think it comes from what a Cayley band traditionally would be. So you've got your fiddle, a bodhran, and
A what?
a bodhran. It's spelled Bohdran. It's an Irish drum, but people pronounce it in different ways. So maybe you guys call it something else, actually. And like a guitar, very folky, very Scottish folky music. But we obviously want to modernize that at times as well. So I think it's a mixture of what Scotland might sound like today and what Scotland sounded like hundreds of years ago, and trying to play with that, really. But it just wants to have that kind of live energy of that, coming from that band, and yeah, just kind of exciting folk music, hopefully. But we've just started to write it, so we'll see what happens.
We're gonna listen here in a minute and let the people tell us themselves. It just sounds like a show that we're like, your timing's perfect, because it feels like an experience that we're all going to be hungry for when we finally get turned out of this and feel safe going back and holding one another's hands and dancing around in a circle. We're going to be ready for it. So while Michael Flynn gets everything ready in the background, you guys want to set up the song we're going to hear? We're going to share the lyric sheet, as I said earlier, just in case our beautiful dialect prevents our sad American ears from understanding every word, because there's a great story embedded in this song. Go ahead and set it up for us.
So this song is called Something Like This. It happens quite near the beginning of the piece. So one of the main characters in the show, and actually of a Cayley, is a person called the caller. So the caller is the leader of the band, but is also the person who calls and teaches guests at a Cayley the steps. So before a dance will begin, the caller will call the steps, and then so that everyone knows them, and then you'll take your partner, and then the band will play and everyone will do the dance. So this particular song happens quite near the start, and our caller for this for our show tells the story of one of the first ever dances that was kind of passed down from one of Scotland's first ever chieftains, a man called Duncan the Stout. He passed down a dance to the caller after him, but the steps got slightly lost along the way, and the story is that every caller that's passed it along always hears it wrong in some way, so kind of teaches the dance but teaches it incorrectly. So there is the dance in Cayley tradition that is nothing like Duncan's original dance, but we still do the dance anyway. So that's kind of what this song is.
Anything to add, Claire?
That we wrote this about 2 weeks ago, and so it's brand new. And just before we had the real lockdown here, Scott came round and we did a quick demo, standing at opposite sides of my flat. So
the appropriate distance.
Yeah, a socially distant demo. Here you go.
Okay, here it is. All right, Michael Flynn, we're ready when you are.
Old Duncan the Stout was a man who loved to dance. He'd summon all his clan whene'er he found a chance. First he'd lead them in a toast and command they get in pairs. The dance we dance tonight will be danced for 100 years. So Duncan he taught Patrick, the caller after him, the steps to his dance so it could be taught again. And when Duncan died in battle, Patrick called the clan. Find yourselves a partner and let's celebrate our man. But as the caller takes a swig and drains his mug of ale, the steps he swore he'd learned to lead seem lacking in detail. Holy Moses, my mind's gone blank. Was it 2 steps forward, then another back? It seems unfair of me to call it his. All I know is it was something, something, something like this. centuries passed, and the clan of Duncan grew. His dance was handed down, each caller learning it anew. Then came Arabella Inches, a fearsome woman chief. Not a chink in her armour, except in her left ear she was deaf. And so the day came for the chief to learn the steps. Her predecessor spoke them in his final dying breaths. But as she leaned in to listen, she turned her head to hear, and the steps became entrusted to her only faulty ear. But as she turns to ask the chap to repeat what he said, the old boy gave a final cough, and with that, he was dead.
Holy Moses, my mind's gone blank. Was it 2 steps forward, then another back? It seems unfair of me to call it his. All I know is it was something, something, something like this.
The time arrives for the dance to be passed on. Legend says that every caller somehow hears it wrong. From Duncan to Patrick to Arabella in her stoop, to the chief who thought he'd write it down but dropped it in his soup, to the caller in Rosyth who failed to inform the caller in Kincaid as he told it in a storm. But still it does survive as callers muddle through, and now it's found its way to here to pass to you.
See, traditions, whatever we choose to pass on, and if it can't move with us, you'll soon find it's gone.
And yes, Duncan, the stout may see our steps as strange, but his dance is still here, cause it's been able to change. So when it's time to pass it on, don't worry on what to say. What we've forgotten will be gone, and the rest will somehow stay.
Holy Moses, my mind's gone blank. Was it 2 steps forward, then another back? It seems unfair of us to call it his. All I know is it was something, something, something like this.
That's fabulous, you guys. I just love it. I want to be at that party. Right? It's just beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking us.
Of course. Michael Fling, are there any questions that our guests want to ask Scott and Claire? Did I mention we're new to this? There are not. Okay. All right. Well, anything else you guys want to share with us before we let you go? I said we'd be about a half hour, and I think we're running over. Oh, yeah, we're almost right on time.
Just that it's so lovely to see you and to hear that Goodspeed still manages to be a community that reaches not just your audience and members, but people like us that are on the other side of an ocean. It's a very special place, and it means a lot to still connect to you all.
And we can't wait to be back over there. I'm sure it won't be too long.
It won't be long if I have anything to say about it. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And before we let our guests go, thank you for joining us. Please take good care of yourselves. Next week, we're going to be here every Thursday night at 5 o'clock with a team of writers that we know and love and want to share their work with you until we get through this. So next week, Eric Ulloa and Brett Ryback, the authors of Passing Through, are going to be with us, sharing what they've been up to. And I haven't actually spoken to either of them in quite some time, so it'll be news to me too. if you haven't already gotten a link, I think Goodspeed posted on social media, they organized a quarantine concert of 5 songs from Passing Through. It is really so phenomenal. You can Google Play Bill Passing Through Quarantine Concert and you'll find it, listen to it. It's a benefit for the Actors Fund. If you can make a contribution to the Actors Fund, please do. And Goodspeed's going to send out a link too, so you'll probably get that. And stay safe, stay home. I think that's it. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Stay well.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.